These are the last of my ice beers. And as you can see, Icehouse has poured or has generated a much larger head of foam than Bud Ice, which means it's going to give it away. I'm not going to be able to do this blindfolded. Anyway, both of these beers have been compared to natural ice, and they both beat natural ice in my preference. Now, both of these beers are 5.5 ABV, and this one is rated at 52 on Beer Advocate, and this one's rated at 49, I believe. And in my previous ice beer videos, I talked about the ice beer brewing process, which I'll just mention here briefly in case you haven't seen that. What an ice beer is, or ice brewing is after the fermentation, they bring the temperature of the beer down to below freezing, where ice crystals form. The water in the beer freezes, forming ice crystals, but the alcohol doesn't. Then they remove those ice crystals, either through a centrifuge or through filtration, leaving a higher alcohol by volume beer. Just they're taking out some volume of water, but they're leaving the alcohol in. So it also makes it nice and smooth. Both of these beers aren't necessarily bad, and what I've found in drinking ice beers is that at first, when they're cold, right out of the can, right out of the fridge, they have pretty good flavor, and they're kind of tasty. Not much on the hop side, not much bitterness, but the longer they sit out like this, the quicker that flavor goes away. And they begin tasting quite watery and plain. At least that's what I found in my last two comparisons. So, here we have Bud Ice, Icehouse, very similar in appearance. I can't tell if there's a slight difference in the color from where I'm sitting, the Icehouse might be a little darker, but I don't really think so. Maybe not from here. The carbonation produced by each is very similar, given the amount of bubbles coming up. Although we do have more of a head, as I mentioned, on the Icehouse. Even though I poured both of these as gently as possible, this one generated a head. Well, time to taste. That first taste is pretty good. The taste is kind of sweet, a little bit tangy, rather smooth, no bitter aftertaste, not necessarily any dryness to it, maybe slight. It's a fairly easy drinking beer. I would say a light to medium mouthfeel, a bit of a bite from carbonation, and tang. What could be generating the tang? Hops, perhaps? Or just the carbonation? Generally, I believe when something is tangy, like an orange or a lime, that's acid. So I have no idea what the pH values of these beers are, but 7 is neutral. Anything below 7 is more acidic. Anything above 7 is more alkaline. So if I had to guess, I would say the beer is probably below 7. I could be wrong. I might have to look that up. There is a slight difference in flavor between the two, I think. Whereas this one doesn't have the tanginess that this one has. Now, usually I associated tanginess with citrusy flavor. So I would say that although neither of these beers are citrusy, that you would detect, there is more tangy citrusiness to this one than there is this one. Just a very slight bit. But that's just the tanginess and not necessarily citrusiness. Well, it has a pleasant taste, actually. Whereas this one, it seems to have some dryness to it. Right after the initial feel, a sort of dryness comes on right in the middle and kind of carries on through the finish. Slightly, well, not quite as flavorful as this. If it was more hoppy bitterness, then that would be fine. But whatever that dryness is in there, I'm not sure it's from hops. Could be, but it's kind of a tasteless dryness. Now, I'm thinking at some point, one is going to start tasting more watery than the other. But we'll see. Right now, they're very similar, except for the taste. But the feel, the wateriness, the smoothness, they're both hanging on to that fairly well at this moment. Okay. This one's losing it. Getting watery, losing its flavor. I'm going to give this win to Bud Ice. So Bud Ice, out of the 3 ice beers, Bud Ice is number 1, Icehouse is number 2, and Natural Ice is number 3. That's how I would rank them. Because, with Natural Ice, I thought its flavor wasn't quite as good as Bud Ice. It was stronger, though. I believe it lasted longer in flavor, but the flavor wasn't that great. So that's it. 3 ice beers compared, 3 ice beers ranked. Bud Ice is number 1. And that's all. Are there any questions? Okay. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.